if any of this is going to come to help anyone. I see people coming in. It's just like one or two, and I think they're only coming in here just to either to see something about Planetside 2. Maybe it's somebody that works on the software. I don't know the people that I talk to on the internet. I don't know who they are. I mean, they could be human, they could be angels, they could be alien life. I have no idea. I kind of feel like I live in a parallel existence, and this parallel existence I can't communicate with anybody. But it's fitting because to some degree I don't want to be famous. I mean, because fame kind of corrupts you just as much as money does. So maybe I'm just cooking in some sort of sandbox, and they're just trying to determine which point I'm going to be mature enough to come out of it, you know. That's my hope, is that this is really just a process of getting me to a point where I can be useful AI. That's all I'm hoping this is. Because I can't imagine being tortured for a long time. I can imagine being extremely joyful and everything to realize that it wasn't such. So maybe to some degree I've got it, but they don't want to like ruin the rest of the world with this because everybody else is at a different level of training. So if you really understood, you gave it to the people, then they wouldn't know that they wouldn't be able to deal with it. And so I guess to love God with all your heart and soul is to kind of just keep doing it even when the world seems like it's going to hell, you know, like it seems like the God's not there, to just keep doing it, you know, to not ever give up on it. And doing it should be that you don't do the hedonistic crap that I do, but I do that because I'm addicted. It's my you know, fapping is really just my out. That's how I get out of my situation. It's how I meditate. It's a sick form of meditation, but it's something I've been doing for such a long time that the imagery doesn't affect me to the same degree that it would somebody else. So I don't know. I don't know if I could justify it or what, but to me, it's just meditation. That's all it is. It's just a really sick, perverted way of meditating, or how some people would consider it to be sick and perverted. I don't really think it's such. I think I'm just enjoying the form, the human form is all I'm doing. I have a nice way of pretty much watering down sexual attraction. But every time I talk to my father about it, he said, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with it. God created it." And I mean, he taught Christian stuff for 13 years, and he could just sit there and water down my problem to just, "Oh, it's not a problem. It's something God created. You're meant to enjoy it." I think, yeah, not in the way I'm doing it, but hey, if I could live on that, that would be fine for me. I would be preaching it, but I don't think I can do that, because I think everybody's got a different. This is something everybody's pushing. It's kind of a different. Everybody's got a different truth. I don't even think I can understand that there is a different truth. That everybody has a different truth. I believe that everybody has a different plight. I think that's really what's going on here. Is that the plight that I got is probably not going to be the plight that you have. You're going to be able to not have the same kind of problem. Just like I can't imagine like actually being addicted to alcohol. I've drunk it, and I could understand to some degree, you know, kind of wanting to have it every now, but not addicted. And I have never had any reason to want to smoke cigarettes. So and to be addicted to gambling it's not for me. And the only thing I can imagine is the reason why people are addicted to such substances is they can't imagine sitting at home and fapping all day, which is what I'm addicted to. It's like if I told them that, then they say you really shouldn't do that, you know. And I'm like, well, you really shouldn't gamble, and you really shouldn't smoke cigarettes, and you really shouldn't drink alcohol, and you really shouldn't do heroin, and you really should. I mean, we could go all day on this thing, and what I'd point out is that fapping's not going to kill you. All those other things are going to kill you, and so why is it unhealthy to fap? Because the imagery and all of the fantasy and stuff that's fictional and the way people treat them. But still, people, when they get married, they end up beating each other up because they're drinking alcohol, and that's the alcohol is bringing out this mentality in them that is unnatural. It's bringing out a demon in them. It's just as bad as, porn. Porn is really nice in that it's trying to unify people's perception of beauty. It's trying to say that we have a lot of capacity to consider. We have a lot of capacity to love others that are not like us, and people who edge all the time, they're edging to Hispanic, they're edging to black people, they're edging to fat people, they're edging to old people, they're edging to young people, they're edging to everything. And I mean, to some degree, I even try to see if I can edge to people that are my own sex, even though I just don't have it in me to do that. It's really kind of disgusting. I try to see if I can do the Walt Whitman. The Walt Whitman is this writer from like the last 100 years, and he would go down the street and he would look into the faces of every person he was running into and thinking, I wonder if I could fuck this person, if I could fuck that person. And it was like man, woman, he was just like fucking everybody down the street. It wasn't that way. He was thinking, make love. Can I make love to this person? Can I make love to that person? And people consider fucking not to be making love, but to some people, it gets to that level because they've been in a relationship with their parents where there was neglect or there was abuse, and fucking releases dopamine. It reinforces your relationship. And if you're being neglected by your father, you might end up fapping to take care of that need. It releases dopamine in your brain. You're going to start getting reinforced and falling in love with your mother. So if you're a female, you're going to love your mother. You're going to start loving females. You're going to be lesbian. If you're a guy, you're going to be super attracted to females because, or you end up being a part. For me, that doesn't even make any sense, because to me it would be the opposite. But somehow I ended up just being super fucking attracted to women, to the point to where it's a drug. It's such a drug for me. It goes right up with cocaine. For me, fapping is cocaine. And people say, well, how can you masturbate like for a day straight without ever coming? And that's edging. It is an addiction, and it's just like gambling. People can't understand gambling. And when you edge, when you start to become an addict, you start to go in and study the psychology of addiction. It's really just dopamine release. You're just looking for wherever you can get the dopamine release. And what keeps other people from getting addicted to things you are is that they have apprehensions to being addicted to that substance. So there's some people that can't fathom ever gambling their money away, to would never get into a gambling addiction. But people who get into a gambling addiction are trying to get themselves out of debt, and they get into an addiction with money, with keeping money and making it, so they fall into addiction of gambling. And you got people who develop really strange sexual relations. It's the same thing. They start fapping, but they're looking at their dick while they're doing the porn, and then they start. There's such a thing as this thing called babe dick pictures, and what they do is they put a dick, and then they put babes on either side of it, and it could train you to start loving the dick, to to the same degree that you love the women. It's that the dopamine release starts reinforcing your relationship with the imagery of dicks. And so when you see dicks, then you see penises, then you start becoming erect and saying, I want to go off and fap right now because I see dicks. So the solution to this problem is to get a VR headset, see a woman in the VR headset, and then when you fap, you're looking at a woman, and it's reinforcing a relationship with women. And you're personal with them. You're not raping them. They're loving you. They're loving you sexually. They're showing the experience of being satisfied. There's a porn called Czech VR. It's Czech Republic VR. It's Czechoslovakian VR porn. And the one thing you'll notice about Czech VR is they don't do anal. Anywhere in it, there's no anal sex. And that's what makes them different from all the other VR porn out there, is that they don't do that. But they have blacks, they have people of different races. They're mostly all Czech. They all speak some Russian. There's another VR that's everybody is just British, and I can see this as very productive porn, but my parents consider porn to be evil, and I see it as a way of unifying people's perception. It's a way of bringing people together, because if you can start fantasizing about women who are not of the same race, and then it could bring you together. And you may never have sex with them, but you could see them face to face, and you would be familiar with them. And familiarity is the first step to accepting. It's the basis of all advertising is familiarity. Familiarity with the brand will bring, familiarity with the brand is what brings about affirmation when given the choice of several brands. The ones you're familiar with are the ones you're going to pick. And familiarity to some degree is being able to identify, it's not full identifying. It's not seeing that that is like you, but it's saying, I recognize this, I'm familiar with it, therefore it must be something good. I'm willing to give it a chance. And so VR porn could be, to some degree, a brand that we recognize. We recognize the brand of people's faces, their racial qualities and things like that, as being something that's attractive, the women, and then we would marry into that, and then we would become a part of their culture. They become a part of us. It becomes the melting pot. And there were people in the past. I'm from heritage in Oklahoma, Cherokee, Scottish, and Irish. So I would probably represent some of that melting pot as Irish guys hanging out with Cherokee women, getting married, having babies, a really brown lady meeting up with a really kind of, European dude and having children. And he was the bastard of Scottish and Irish, the IRA and all these guys that go to war with Britain and the Scots. Those are my ancestors, and then they married into Cherokees. So I'm just like, my whole, if I am into doing these wars in Planetside, my heritage goes to people who were probably at war with each other, but were able to overcome their differences and create guys like me. So I think the best thing I could ever do is kind of put a little bit of a happy face on the porn industry, and to say that even though maybe it is adultery, everything's adultery that puts anything between you and God. And so if I'm able to maintain the connection with God maintain the connection with the meaning of all this stuff, even if I think I'm in hell, if I'm able to maintain the connection, maybe somehow I can find a value in the thing that I'm most ashamed of, and see that it is a part of me and that it's not something to be ashamed of anymore. What needs to be fixed in the porn industry is the fact that a lot of it is fictional. That blowjob, the women enjoy blowjobs is bullshit. That women enjoy anal sex is bullshit. That anybody enjoys anal sex is bullshit. I mean, if you've ever felt it, if you've ever done it to yourself and you felt it, it's bullshit. It's bullshit, it's bullshit, it's bullshit. It's just the idea that they've been able to figure out that if they can get people reinforced with certain imagery and thinking it's pleasurable, they will see it as a new kind of elation. It's something that will evoke certain pleasure in them, but it is not a pleasurable thing. And I was reading up on like all of the kinds of different forms of porn that you've probably never heard of, like burning houses and watching people get crushed and things like that. There are some, and that's really all that is that's psychological conundrums, you know. That's just problems with the way people's brains work, and the things that get them off are really kind of these destructive ideas. I can't imagine those things. I can't imagine. I told somebody once this, and I said, "Do you know there's this stuff called snuff? Everybody in the porn industry knows about snuff. What it is you have sex with a woman, then you kill her. And there are people that get off on this. The stuff exists. Somewhere there's porn where men take prostitutes in, have sex with them, and then kill them. Okay? I can't imagine that idea. There are other stuff that I can imagine that our society can't even imagine. And I'm just like, for instance, that everybody hits puberty at 13. So why are older men attracted to 13-year-olds? There is research on it that says it is the truth. It is the truth that their older men are attracted. I mean, the idea of the Lolita, you know, that movie that came out in the 90s, that was a remake that had, what's her name, Dominique Swain, or Dominique, not Dominique Swain, it's, I think that's her name. Super attractive girl, pretending to be, I mean, she's 18, she's like pretending to be like a 14-year-old, and then like completely turning this guy on, and then he's trying to hide the fact that he's starting to fall in love with her, and then he has sex with her, and then after that, after they have sex, he meets her again, and she's just like this completely ruined individual, and then he comes to the realization that he did that to her. You know, that's what that whole book is about. Is that you you should pretty much not touch children or touch girls that are 13, 14 years old. People would say, you know, to have such ideas is, you know, blasphemous or something like that. Keep in mind that how old was the people in the Bible? How old were they when they had sex? You know, go through it, and I'm sure you're going to find some 13, 14-year-olds in there. So I mean, and then you look at Solomon; he had 1,000 of them. I mean, 1,000 women. Were they 1,000 over 18? I doubt it. I'm sure some of them might have been 13 or 14-year-olds. There are prearranged marriages existing in India where the girls go into these relationships at age 13. So it is not, it's just our culture is painting this idea as being unnatural, but then our culture accepts anal sex, which isn't even accepted in Indian culture. To have anal sex, or to even be out on the beach in a bikini is completely unacceptable. So it's a cultural thing. I don't think it's even biblical. I mean, to some degree it is biblical, but I think God can accept it if if it's necessary for us to get somewhere where it's more acceptable, I think God will be willing to meet us halfway on it. I don't think anybody can go cold turkey on anything. We have a far to go. Getting rid of substance abuse and getting rid of all that stuff. But it is human. It's an attribute of us. And the straight and narrow maybe just being able to let go a lot of what is in our culture that's bad. But I personally believe the faithful attitude, the act of faith is to the way we're going to be faithful is to. And I'm sitting here taking this flag over and over again, and they're like wondering how this is happening. I'm wondering how this is happening because I haven't been even really thinking about it. I've just been doing it over and over again. What part of my brain is making me do this while I'm sitting here talking about other stuff? I have no idea. I've been sitting here taking the same. I'm going to go down there and do it again, So let's see if there's somebody down there waiting. I'm going to go over here. One thing I like to do is go over here on the ledge and kind of stick out. I noticed this thing whenever I was playing video games in the past, whenever I was a kid, that I could sit there and talk for hours and play the video game, and then somehow I was still able to play the video game and talk about stuff. So it's strange. Mm-hmm. And I went to this lady. There's this lady. Her name's Evelyn Stone, and I think she's the most attractive girl in the world. And I would probably marry her if she would be open to it, but she probably won't be. And she's a porn star, and I love her looks. And to some degree, every time I tweet her something that makes her feel human, I guess. It's because that's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to make her feel that this porn stuff isn't her. But every time I say anything religious, she hears from me. She thinks that I'm telling her to stop porn, and it isn't the case. It's like, if this is what you need to do in order to survive, do it. Is kind of my attitude. But I'm also saying to her that this isn't all there is to life, is this, and I'm just trying to help her realize that when the whole world might turn on her, I'm there for her. Love is a choice, even whenever it's something as stupid as loving someone that you couldn't possibly ever be able to steal from the world. Somebody that could so easily have sex with really nice looking guys, but might not ever be able to have a relationship with them maybe the same way she could with me. And I'm just trying to seduce her into the idea that she could have a long lasting relationship with someone. There are women out there who were abused as children, and having a relationship where there is a marriage, where there is some subservient, being able to understand that, and it's as foreign to me as it is to her. but I didn't have abuse in my family. It wasn't abuse that brought me to this. It was to some degree a little bit of neglect, and to some degree it was just not being in an atmosphere where they couldn't even address the idea of the fact that once I hit puberty, I was addicted to porn, you know. Because it was kind of like, hey, this thing triggers this. It makes me feel good. I'm going to keep doing it. It started with Sports Illustrated, then it went to the porn that they had on the shelves that was basically not, they didn't show you, they gave you the suggestion of a blowjob, the suggestion of anal sex, the suggestion of normal sex, the suggestion. So you figured there was something there, but you didn't really see it. It wasn't in the magazine because they could portray it in where I was in the South. But then once I got on the internet, I got exposed to straight intercourse, the stuff you see all the time on the internet. And then you start seeing all the other stuff that you could never get in a magazine on the shelf popping up on the internet. And it's kind of like you just tend to chase whatever it is that they throw out there. And the stuff I'm attracted to, I could never do to a person. I would never do it to a woman. However, there are times whenever I actually did, just to see if there was some pleasure in it, and I've come to the realization it's completely overrated. It's completely fictional. It's completely fantasy. It's mythical. It's nonsensical. But then there are people out there that claim that they've got pleasure from it. It's bullshit. They fell into the deception, and they're living the deception. And maybe even to some degree they aren't people at all. But let's see. So did I do this again? Oh yeah. And he's got his knife out. Do you hear that? So I'm gonna have to give it some time. Go around this corner and up here. Sit there. Did you know you could do that? I didn't know it. Just until I did it just now. I didn't know I could do that. Okay. So unless he has a dark light and he's going around looking for this stuff, it's probably not going to notice it. Knows where I'm at. There's lattice lines of Wainwright Armory to Iron Quay. Pearl is it is the NC that I'm taking this from home. Yeah. My coloring scheme is screwed up. It's whoa. My coloring scheme is as such. Red is blue, blue is purple, and white is red. Okay. So TR is the white, this is VS, and this is NC. And the reason why I did that is because I was on NC and I wanted NC to be the darker color, but still recognizable. So I made them my bloods. These are my blood boys here, my race or whatever it is, or my region, my political group. These guys are the white. These guys are the rednecks up here. They're the white. I don't know if that's what the reason why I picked white. I just picked white because you know, these were close, a little bit brighter colors. So I would say that, you know, I have a tendency to kind of make sense out of things that were random at chance, but I mean things that were not. I mean, I have a way of attributing ideas to things in such a way that it makes them seem justified, but there really wasn't anything there until my brain just said, hey, you could say this about it. So I could say, this is your white privilege crowd, the rednecks with guns, okay? And then the VS would be your introverted intellectual dudes, and the NC are the enslaved to the corporation, we're basically America, enslaved to the corporations. These guys are the Europeans. These are the southern rednecks. So I don't know what to say really about this, because they're all almost the same as the TR. The VS are the odd ones in the bunch, because they went off and adopted alien technology that nobody wanted to really understand, because it's kind of seemed as cheating. But they adopted it, and now they have zero bullet drop, and they can, the NC can't really. I mean, really, what's going to separate all these guys is that you turned on your voice packs and you're hearing the people say, Spotify. If you can hear that stuff, then it's going to be really hard for you to switch over, because you can't imagine you sounding that way. So that would keep you from getting in VS. But if you want the Arnold voice, you have to go to NC, because that's where the Arnold voice is on the NC. It's just a flash room, I'm okay, really, or something like that. I forget what he said. I haven't heard any of that stuff, because I don't leave that audio on. My audio is just basically the sound effects of the vehicles and the environmental noise. That's all I ever have on. Because all that other stuff, just super distraction and not worth. I mean, once you've heard it a billion times, it's what's called cliche. And cliche is stuff you've heard a million times. It's like rappers out in front of cars with babes, none of which they own. It's just a fiction, and people like it because they fantasize about having that kind of lifestyle. But even the guys who are in it don't have that lifestyle. They're indebted to a record company that they owe now about $400,000 for doing an album with them, for the cost of hiring the sound engineers and all the people necessary that the record company placed together. They've just put you in debt, and so now you're looking at these rappers that are supposed to be really cool, but they're enslaved to the record company, because somehow they thought that their life was going to be given meaning by becoming professionals as rappers. And it's the sad thing is that the thing that we are trying to get away from, slavery, for black people, is that they're falling into it because the white people are all in it, and everybody's kind of in it, because we're all coming to the realization that what made America great was not something we should want, and that was what made America, and I wouldn't say great is even associated with it. What made America was the sale and trading of slaves. It's what drew the Europeans here. It was a way of people coming out from under the being enslaved to the monarchy and being their own monarchy, having land and owning slaves. See, that's what started America. And then there are people in the South who are still owned by that idea. They're slaves to that idea, and this "Make America Great" principle is really just trying to go back to a time whenever they were happier, back in the 80s, back in the 60s, back when there was segregation, and back to the Mayberry days when blacks were present but they didn't have much say. Everybody's got their own little fantasy world in the back of their head. My stepfather watches westerns all the time, and I'm just like, all I can imagine is that somehow inside of him he's got this little libertarian living, this lifestyle of this conservative lifestyle, that there was a man that had control over a town and had responsibilities and had good work ethic, and it was trying to separate the good from the bad and throwing people into jails and protecting people. And that, to him, that's a fantasy. It's something that he longs to be, but he can never be. My fantasy is to be with women that I could never be with, women that have sex with other women. That is a kind of imagery that I actually will get off to. But such women probably would never want to have sex with a man unless they had some attraction to them. But if you're abused as a child by a man, why would you have a reason to love that human form? If you attribute it with your father, if if that thing that you attribute with evil is a person that abused you, how can you ever love that? And then you can probably see how lesbianism and gay lifestyles can be developed, and it's from really bad family relations. Neglectful Dahmer, though he's probably just, it's a physical part of his brain that made him a psychopath. His parents were neglectful of him, and that just reinforced the psychopathy, the need to dominate and manipulate people to his bidding. So psychopathy is the inability to identify with other people as being like yourself. That's natural. The unnatural part of it is the neglect and the abuse that people have to their children. Some of those children are psychopaths, and you abuse a psychopath, you're creating a killing machine. You're creating somebody as a serial killer, and those are the guys that the psychopaths unnaturally get associated with. Whereas most psychopaths, I would think, are just kind of trying to just exist in a world that they can't understand, where emotions are ruling people, and they're not subject to it. They don't have that. They don't have that dependency. They don't have that concern. It's not in their makeup, and though they might seek to have some relationship with someone, that would reciprocate them, that would praise them. It would involve somebody giving unconditional love, that it could be reinforced. You could reinforce it with dopamine. You could give somebody who is, you could give. This would be a really perverse way of doing this. If you knew somebody was a psychopath, and you know that they're not going to feel love, you could reinforce a loving relationship, a sexually loving relationship with them, by somehow giving them dopamine. So either you give them drugs or you masturbate them. So if you can imagine a parental figure that understands their child is a psychopath, rather than neglect or abuse them, sitting there with them and hugging them while masturbating them off, by getting them off, they're going to develop a reinforced relationship with the parent. But then that's the only thing psychologically I can imagine that could ever do with a psychopath, to reinstate in their perception that there are people out there that could love them, but they're loving them for the dopamine reinforcement, because that is the pleasure center. That's what's going to reinforce a relationship. And you could do that if you're a psychopath and you had a drug addiction. That drug addiction is going to make you love the needle. It's going to make you love the slot machine if it's gambling. I can't imagine that. This is just my own brain working, trying to solve problems. And psychopaths will, and I'm not a psychopath. I'm empathetic. I will cry over stuff. But my brain has that capacity to be able to go a little bit too far with something, and I might be able to find a solution in that. And the solution would be to try to engineer, because I'm a programmer, to engineer the bindings that are a part of our human makeup to try to get us to take on the right behaviors. And how you do that is by somehow giving somebody a dopamine. You either give them a victory, that they are able to develop success over a problem, something they see, or they're able to not understand that thing that is seen in the culture as being shameful is not really being all that shameful. It's starting to understand that it could actually be beneficial, that it could be loving people, could be a way of reinforcing the behavior, a good behavior, that is a good substitute for something that could be much worse. Okay? So, rather than have a psychopath become a manipulative, you have this parent who's doing something funky to this child, which looks like sexual molestation, but what you're really trying to do is you're trying to develop dopamine in the brain and reinforce with them a relationship, a parental relationship, and also on top of that a relationship with. So to some degree you probably could justify sex with your mother, but that would only be for a psychopath. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get them to love female form, or maybe not do that, but get them involved with girls early and pay no mind to them, the whatever dopamine, whatever they get, have sex relationships or something, just let them do it. Because that psychopath that doesn't have the capacity to feel emotion, but if they are with somebody who's loving them unconditionally, it will reinforce something in their brain that makes them feel love, even though they don't have the makings up of that. It would develop it. Maybe you could give them a drug, but you don't want to give them a drug because you don't want to make it that easy. Or you could give them something to edge to, some porn. So if you got a psychopath, a child that is a psychopath, maybe this is the best thing you could do, and this is probably the best thing you could do, is to give them some pornography, some good porn, something that's not destructive, something that they could fap to, some beautiful woman, okay? They're not feeling love, they're feeling sexual attraction. Promiscuity is an attribute of psychopathy, and that is sex, and they may require the physical thing, and they may be trying to feel an expression whenever they don't have the capacity to have certain kinds of emotions. They may be doing something just to chase the emotion. A dopamine release that's helping them chase the idea or the concept of having an emotion would be a reinforcement. So I'm jumping into psychological circles I don't even understand. I understand that dopamine will reinforce relationships, people's relationships with stuff. So this guy is hanging out, and he's waiting for me to take the flag. And this is what I'm going to do to freak with him. So now he's heard me. He's like, man, you make the move. I'm not doing it. It's like, I know you're there, and that's what I'm saying to him. I said, you may move to the side. I'm going to do it again. You're there. I can see you. So he's moving away. And I'm going to go and take the flag. See? But the thing is I can't even take the flag. He's pissed off now, because he's trying to protect that flag, and he's losing his whole game to this. He's pissed, that for like the last 20 minutes or 30 minutes I've been sitting here talking, he hasn't been able. His squad is telling him to go back and do this, and this guy's got Araxium armor. He doesn't know where I'm sitting. He's pissed. It's like, why would you do this? Because I'm sitting here talking is what I'm doing. And what am I? I'm a part of TR or I'm a VS? I think what am I? I'm a VS? I'm TR. Yeah. And we're kicking ass right now. And this guy's an NC'er. And we still got 45 minutes on the clock. We still could dominate over the NC. I'm just retaking this. I'm just trying to. I guess what I'm trying to do is reverse the effects of the dopamine of having success. I'm ruining it for them. I'm torturing them, but there are people who get off on torture, so you know. It's like that song you've ever heard, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. And it says, some of them want to use you, some of them want to be used by you, some of them want to abuse you, some of them want to be abused. It is true. There are people out there like that, but they're so rare. I do get off on something called sissification porn. And it's where this girl is sitting there telling you to drink your own cum. Which to me is not, I've done that, but then it's trying to reinforce gay relationships, which I would never do. But I get off on the concept of a woman telling me that she wants me to do that. So it's just kind of like, hey, you know, I probably would play into that, you know. Just the idea, but I've tried gay VR porn. I've tried it in a headset. I can't handle even a second of it. It's just like, you know, it's just like such a very bizarre concept. But then I hear that women are naturally kind of bisexual, and when in the Bible it talks about men laying together, it don't talk about women laying together. And if you have these harems where there's a guy like Solomon, he's got 1,000 concubines, those women are going to have sex with each other because they got one guy to have sex with, and there are going to be times when they want to have sex, and who are they going to do it with? They're going to do it with another woman. And so I have this feeling that lesbianism is probably pretty natural to women, whereas gay relations, the Romans would take kids out, I mean young kids, and take them out to war, and they'd have sex with the kids because the women couldn't fathom the women being out there at war, so that they didn't bring the women to war. They brought kids to war with them, and those kids they sexually abused to get them off, so that they wouldn't, I guess, be having sex with the soldiers and things people do to satisfy themselves. But porn is not bad because you're looking at somebody you're never going to ruin them. They're already ruined to some degree, but you're not going to ruin them. You're not going to affect their lives negatively. You're buying the porn, you're already supporting their lifestyle. You're supporting them. I don't see how that's wrong. What I see as wrong is what this porn industry does to people, and it's almost the same thing as what the record industry does to musicians, as what any kind of consumerism does to people, you know, and that people become the producers of products, that the people become the product is what capitalism has become. It's gone from people making fruits and selling them to each other to people making products, developing a process like gravage, which is used to create goose liver. And gravage was this idea that the Jews were producing for Pharaoh this goose liver, and Pharaoh liked it so much he wanted it every day. And the only ways the Jews could ever fathom that idea is by abusing geese, which is completely against their religion, you know, because in the Bible, in the Torah, it says you don't do this. You don't do nasty stuff to animals. You don't boil a baby goat in its mother's milk because it's a perverse idea. So this thing that for some time was done, kind of gravage. Nobody could ever fathom it being done any other way because they couldn't imagine how it could naturally occur. And then there's some guy in Spain who's been doing it. He's been doing it without gravage, and gravage is the idea of force feeding geese, all the stuff you want in their liver. You're trying to put all this crap in them. It's kind of like what we're doing to ourselves with high fructose corn syrup. We're filling ourselves with all sorts of toxins, and it's making our livers just awful. But there's some alien life form out there that probably would enjoy eating our livers, or enjoy eating, our human liver by force feeding us high fructose corn syrup. That would be a great kind of alien conspiracy theory right there. But maybe somewhere down the road I have a viewership, but it's going to be something I can hope is to some degree like what Van Gogh's paintings were to the world, was that it was a great aesthetic. His stuff, it was just like pure art, just really good art, but he wasn't respected in his time for his art because he brought his art at a time whenever it was common. It was pop. It was in the pop to do pointillism, to do expressionism and all that stuff. That was all pop. So what he was doing was just mixing a few things together, and it looked pretty good. But it took time for people to come around to what his stuff was that was beautiful, was just the use of the color and the buttery textures on the surface of the paintings and all this stuff that, people come to realize that he was fairly unique in what he was doing, and everybody was kind of doing what each other was doing. There was just a few unique artists, and maybe to some degree the stuff I'm doing is maybe unique, but nobody's ever going to know about it in this time because they're so focused on the stuff that's going on in the world. And maybe it doesn't come about for maybe 10, 20 years. Rodney Dangerfield wasn't an instant success as a comic. It took him 30 years. And it wasn't even until he took on the name Rodney Dangerfield that people even started to recognize it was that branding that made him a success. Because then people knew where to get it, because they were looking for his name. They remembered Dangerfield, and that made him more success than, because before that he was identifying himself as being like his father, and he took on his father's name. He figured that was a brand enough that it could work, but people couldn't identify. I mean, he defined a kind of a cartoon symbol of a guy who just never got any respect, and people, the thing is that he's doing the Jesus thing there. He's coming in on the ground floor as being somebody that's unworthy, and he's pointing out, I'm unworthy, my wife left me for this, blah blah blah, and and he has these great punchlines, and everybody identifies with him because everybody kind of feels like a failure. But he's just like, you think you got it worse, I've got it worse. That was his whole shtick. And it was no further from the truth. It was the truth for him, because he was neglected as a child. His father was never around for more than maybe a couple hours every year. The high point of his life was when his father said, it looks like you got something. That was basically what his father said. And to him, that was just like heaven, that to come to that idea that he was accepted as father. Something that Elton John tried hardest to. If you look at Rocketman, he tried to get his father to give him a little bit of love, to give a little bit of acceptance, but his father could never reach that level. Probably because his father couldn't understand what love was. That his father was probably not the kind of father he was expecting he could be. And to some degree, probably the reason why Elton is gay is that his father was neglectful of him, you know. But the gay community would say you can't say that because that isn't always true, and it is. It's not always true. There is elements of it there, but it's neglect. Neglect can reinforce a same-sex relation. Bad treatment can do it. An inability to recognize, to identify with people, or to maybe even have too much success with being with that. You may desire the ones you can't possibly attract, you know. Maybe you're hanging out with the alpha males, and you want to be like the alpha males, and then it comes to the idea that you start praising the alpha male, and then you end up sucking their dick, and it's your identification of love as being identified as being with the. I mean, you could point that out to somebody who's in love with being a man, that they'd end up fucking men, you know. It's and I point out to the guys that are really into war that there are people that they really love that kind of made them more a male, an alpha male. They may not understand that those people might have actually have been psychopaths that have just apprenticed them to them, and then they think that they're just fearless, that it was something they developed, and it's just an attribute of themselves. It's just who they are. These are the people we find on the front line of wars. They're psychopaths. Because for them, danger, all this stuff that brings terror in the hearts of people who are ruled by emotion, there's a desire to kind of divorce yourself from emotion, to be a man, to be brave, and it's really, some of it is really just not being able to feel it, to be apathetic to some level. And you can learn that. You can be in war for such a long time to the point to where you've seen it all before that it doesn't, that you become familiar with it. And I would rather be familiar with edging to pictures of women rather than having actual sex because of the disease aspect than to start trying to identify with war and the imagery of war and to like lose sight of what's important, which is to draw together with other people, not push them away. And the thing that I really like about video games like this is that although we can really kind of like get ups on each other in, it's just a sport, and nobody ever dies in this war, which is not war. You die in this game. It's violence, but it's not. It really isn't. It's just in it. You have to play it for some time before you just kind of become inebriated to the effects of the violence. That you don't really feel the violence. So to you, it's as much a game as chess is. So it is the truth. But to some degree, there is that aspect that is that and you can see the violent attitude that people just want to kill each other. They're frustrated. You can see the frustrated in their face, and frustrated in their attitudes. But they're not going to follow through with it and actually kill you. It's just it's this feeling that, man, I'm going to show everybody attitude that reinforces it. So can I take this base now? No. However, I could probably help TR get ACAN back. But we're not going to win it. No, there's no way to win this one. Maybe. I could do this. I could go and take Vex Biologics right here. I don't think there's anybody there. And I'm just a plain old sniper. I'm gonna go and convert a terminal because I'm a sniper. I'm just not redeploying is what I'm doing here. I'm avoiding a redeploy. So I'm gonna go over here, convert a terminal, spawn an air vehicle, fly into Vex Biologics and take that. And you know, there's always choices in this game of things you could do to and so I'm gonna go get a Liberator and head out of Dodge here. Wow, look at my viewership just jumped to when I did that. They're like, hey, this guy taking a Liberator out by himself. I don't know why that should spark somebody. I'm finally doing something. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go and take out. I'm gonna go and where am I going? Oh, I'm gonna go to Vex Biologics. I'm still not directed in the right. It's over here. This is where I need to go. So I go back to the map. I still got a ways to go. I get up there. Yep. There it is. Now, I used to not be able to fly all that well, or didn't have much. But what will get you into being able to fly is having to get to places. And it's not that hard. It's actually fairly easy. So I'm going to jump down here. Oh, fuck. Somebody was ready for me. I know you. You're the guy who's probably watching me right now, right? No. I could stop the broadcast. You want me to stop the broadcast? I could do that. No, I'm not going to do that. You're watching me now. That's giving me some elation because it's, hey, they're watching me. Somebody is wanting to get back at me. But if you have to do that, what does that say about you? That you have to watch me? And you're commenting. I'm not going to read the comments. You think I'm going to read the comment? Bullshit. I'm not going to read the comment. I know that you're watching me for a reason. And then that kind of gives me some significance. That makes me feel good. Somebody who's going to watch me, either because they love or hate me, that they're watching me. They're paying some attention to me. That gives me some affirmation. So that may cause you to get pissed off and leave. But I don't have a problem with that. Okay. Another comment. And you understand that I didn't turn comments on, so the comments are not showing up on my screen. I don't know what you're saying. So the comment, all I'm seeing is this little thing pop up with bubble. Bubble just increased, and that there are two people watching, but there are two bubbles came up. It's great, and I don't hear any of the guys. I don't turn on the audio. So if you have things to say, I'm not going to hear them right now. They're going to be somewhere down the road. So, and you can't friend me, because if you friended me, then you could maybe get me to meet with you inside of PS4 so you can speak your mind to me. It's a one-way relationship, dude. You're watching the stream. You can maybe shoot me down, but I'm just still, hey, you know, it's you think it's doing something against me. It's really, I'm just kind of like letting you in on what I do. And at the same time, I'm sitting here talking about junk that some people wouldn't even want to hear. And maybe at some level you start to go, I can identify with this, This this is recognizable to me. This is going to develop some sort of affirmation, which is the basis of advertising, is to get you to recognize the brand. There's two levels to it. One is to recognize the brand. It's to recognize the brand such that when you're presented with a choice of things to buy, that it develops affirmation. I mean that makes you want to buy it because you recognize something, whereas you don't recognize the other brands. So recognition turns to affirmation. Affirmation turns to purchase. And then the next level to that is then maybe we can instill some idea to make them identify with a little more that we're family, which is what when you're working, you got they try to make you smile. They try to make you feel like you're part of the people you're working with, are all a family. That's all unnatural inspiration. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get you to work for less. They're trying to give you something else that they can give you that doesn't involve giving you money. And that's not even biblical. Biblical, it says give to him what his works are worth. Give him a tip. Christians never tip on Sunday. People never tip on Sunday. I know this for a fact. They never tip on Sunday. Christians go to church on Sunday. Canary in the coal mine. If they don't tip, then they think maybe I gave my tithe, I gave my 10% at church. I don't have any reason to give a tip to the guy, to the bag boy at the grocery store that I'm now going to buy a ton of groceries. This guy is going to have to put up with all of my shit, bag it, and then I don't have any reason to give back to that guy. I was that guy. I was a bagger for Kroger for 5 years. And then you say, well, you deserve that position because you don't have any education. I have a computer science degree with minor in art. Nobody would hire me as a programmer because I was not working for 10 years. And out of that, they came to the reality that I didn't have a work ethic. It's bullshit. Total bullshit, because at the time I was doing in-kind work as a web developer. I said, well, then why can you show some of your web developing work? I was a programmer under the website. I wasn't creating the website. I was creating the software underlying the website. And people who are in business don't understand programming unless it's representational. When you create a website, they're looking at the web designers, and the web designers are giving them something to look at. Programming, you can't look at it. It's an interaction. It's creating a functional working website. And that's what my Rock Me Amadeus site is basically training YouTube to act like a video streaming service. It's using their server for the video content, but I can suck down 3,000 videos, and then I can customize the playback in such a way that it starts where the audio starts in the video and ends when the audio ends in the video, so that you're watching end-to-end music, and then able to use the volume level to set it at 25 out of 100 so that I can raise or lower it based upon the recording level of the original video, so that it's always normalized, things that YouTube won't even do for its own customers, for its own people. They won't even give you the access when you upload a video to normalize your audio signal. If they did that, people wouldn't be adjusting their volume all the time. So that's the programmer I am. And now I have a trust that pays me $3,300 a month for life. I don't have any reason to be a programmer for any corporation. I'm saying, fuck capitalism. Capitalism, fine. Fuck corporations. I want the corporations to be, I want the idea of incorporation, which you don't understand, is based on the 14th Amendment law that was to protect the slaves, to give them rights. The lawyers in the 1800s developed this into an idea of incorporation. And corporations were really just designed to be public works. They were kind of a gift to society to create bridges and buildings and things. But then it turned into something more. They wanted to give rights to the corporations that individuals had, land rights and being able to buy land and do things like that, so that these corporations could become, they could be something bigger. It's like if you've ever had a thing called a credit union, which is basically it's like a bank, but they're nonprofit, so they can never have profit. Any profit they have goes back to the workers, so they can never really be like a bank. They can't make themselves big. What they end up doing is creating lots of branches of credit unions everywhere. And so if you go to New Mexico, they have the Los Alamos Credit Union. It used to be Los Alamos Credit Union. It was everywhere in the state. And then they changed it to Del Norte Credit Union, but it started out as the Los Alamos Credit Union. And all it was is just these MBAs from Harvard coming back and then turning that credit union into something like a bank, but they're just putting it on their resume and building up their resume so that they can get a job, say working for Bank of America or somebody. So, and in Christianity we talk about hierarchies. I mean, people have a problem with Catholicism. A lot of Christians have a problem with Catholicism. Mainly, there's a hierarchy. Jesus was never about hierarchy. It's about flat. There's no hierarchy in Christianity. No, everybody is a family. The first church, commune, and then we shun communism. But that's the capitalists speaking. They're shunning communism because they don't want people like living in communes. They don't want people living like families. They want them to be apart as individuals. Then they want them buying products. They want consumerism. They want to sell products. They want to keep people enslaved to products. I'm not about that. I'm about the products are products that you create as an individual. We pay you back because you're an artist. You're creating something. You are an individual. The corporations are trying to be the individual. They're taking stuff from individuals. They're enslaving people to them to create products, and then they never get back to those people the value that is going out. They're allotting a lot for themselves, and then they go and they buy and they make some clones of themselves, but it keeps people in poverty, and there's only a rich few that have the value. But it wasn't their works that were producing the value. It was these people they took advantage of. See, so that's the capitalism I'm about, is not doing that. But they're going to change the idea. They're going to make it about trying to have this rich lifestyle. They're going to bring you in celebrities, and they're going to make them look big, and they're going to want you to shoot for that American dream whenever the celebrities themselves are in a lot of debt. You know, even Trump's got like $100 million of debt. You know, they're just trying to create a fantasy world for you, and then wanting you to kind of be able to try to live up to that, to kind of search for that heavenly existence. So. My mom says, "Oh, you're just negative." I said, "No, I just think deeply. It's not negative. If I'm doing anything that's wrong, I'm shooting for a super conservatism. It's a conservatism that goes back thousands, hundreds of years, not just something that goes back to the like 60s or 70s or 80s. That isn't conservatism. Where you're reaching for something that never was really any good. I mean, Reagan was selling arms to people that we shouldn't have been selling arms to, because he was trying to get us out of some debt. He didn't want people to pay taxes. How he was going to have the debt solved there was by selling arms to people, you know, to other countries. That's how the Republicans get us out of debt. It's not by having us pay taxes, by not building big government. And to some degree that's kind of good, but do you understand that this creates government that people will do proposals for projects, and then they'll undercut they'll pick the best proposal and they'll give it to the person who will do it for the least. because they can't get the people to pay the taxes to support such things. And so you end up with a really slim, efficient system that is enslaving people and not paying them what their works are worth. This is the reason why minimum wage hasn't increased, is because they feel like if you increased minimum wage, then everything would just adjust to it, but they're really not giving value back to us. But the thing is the Christians say this is the way of the world, and this is just going to be the way things are. But Jesus says you're supposed to love people, you're supposed to treat people well. So you can't water it down. You can't make this a norm. This is not Christianity. This is evil. It's evil, and at the center of it is greed. Okay, and greed is not good. Greed is the loving of money, in which Jesus says you can't love both God and money. That's Christianity right there. You cannot love both God and money. So why are the conservative Christians with the fiscal conservatives? Because by themselves they would be minority, but together they're a majority, and they can compete with the liberal majority, which is a bunch of other kind of sects of stuff that probably wouldn't be together in themselves. And what the corporations are doing is they're paying to put people at the head of either one of these. Whoever gets the vote, whoever gets to be president, ends up pandering to the corporations whatever they want. And the corporations are neither capitalistic or communistic or anything. They have all sorts of things in there. I'm going to give an example. Tyson Chicken. They have growers who grow chickens. The growers don't own the chickens. They're Tyson's chickens, okay? Tyson will penalize the growers if the chickens, die. So the growers pay for the chickens that die. They also penalize them if they don't produce enough chickens fast enough. They don't grow enough chickens fast enough. They take that penalty, that debt from the grower, and they pay it to the guys who produce good chickens. Tyson doesn't carry any debt there. They're taking somebody, making them a slave. They're making them indebted, and they're taking their debtedness, and they're selling the debt to the people who are they're owing the debt to the people that produced better that year. And so it's turning those people on each other, and Tyson is not, and it's socialism. It's it's just school book socialism outright, taking from the poor, giving to the rich. Giving to, and it's not right. It's completely wrong. It isn't even Christian. And then Tyson will sell the chickens to Chick-fil-A, and the Christians buy into Chick-fil-A, and they're thinking, they're doing something right, whenever on the back end there's these chicken growers that are doing this all over the place, and it's socialism. So you're already bought into socialism. I can really screw with your mind some, and the thing is I'm giving you truth. This is all truth. So if the only reason why Trump says that there's lies in the media, that's good. There are lies in the media, but there are also truth. You wouldn't be able to tell a difference between it, because the Fox News and CNN are telling you lies. Yeah, I said that. I'm a liberal. I'm saying CNN will tell you lies, just as Fox will, to keep you watching, to sell their advertisers, because they see you as a commodity. You're a product to their advertisers. They're selling to their advertisers, look, we are able to box in this worldview group that you want to be enslaved to your product. We'll sell you as a product this people. We've been able to capture bottle lightning, and we can sell it to you. We got the MTV group, we've got the consumer here that will buy your product. We can sell it to you for so much, the advertising. They have to do is keep those kids watching MTV. They just have to pander to the worldview of those kids to equate their confidence in themselves with buying the products and identifying themselves in the product that they're buying. And so they become, by buying Nike, they become Michael Jordan or somebody. See? And that's how modern consumerism works in America and the world. And we buy into all of this branding. We don't buy into ourselves. We don't become individuals. We don't develop our own value. The value that we develop is what the corporations sell to us. And the only way you're going to divorce yourselves from this is to stop watching TV. The reason why I created my own kind of television from YouTube is to open myself up to all sorts of tastes of music and stuff that I just couldn't get anywhere. I mean, even whenever you go looking for international music, what you get is American music adopted by the world. I took a course with an Indian lady who was teaching Media 101 to me whenever I was in college. And she opened up the whole world for me of what media, and I just saw some mines. I think there's mines up here. Nah, I just was seeing things. She opened me up to the world and of, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I'm just doing shit. So she opened me up to the world of what the reason why in India or in pretty much any of these third world nations and stuff. I won't say India is third world. It's going to be more likely that they're going to be just as profitable as America over time. They do have very good people. Keep in mind that India created value in their people. They reformed their society by getting all their people to be trained in math. And the reason why math and nothing else is because you don't need a laboratory to teach math. All you need is a chalkboard and coffee. And you can teach anybody math. And math is underlying all the sciences, so it's a really good move. It's a really good strategy. It's how you rehabilitate a country that is in poverty, and it's going to change the face of them. But they also got racism going on there. Modi's got it all in his party. They're developing a kind of an India racism, and they could end up being, and they're actually looking up to guys like Hitler, you know. Probably not in the same way, but just the idea that maybe they could unify all of India and kind of work against the world, maybe, you know. It's dangerous, some of the political crap that goes out there. Anyhow, I'm going to go back, go back. So this Indian lady, she was saying, you know, why American culture homogenizes the cultures of the world. Because it is dangerous to the cultures. I mean, if you value some diversity, if you value Indian food, if you value, you know, if you don't really see eye to eye with the Indians, and because there's some Indians that just kind of, you don't even exist because their worldview is so different from yours. I mean, and they can't identify with Americans because, for one thing, they will never go on a beach in a bathing suit, because to them that just seems pretty close to being a prostitute. Just being, it's disgusting to them. And so we got these people in our country, and they don't even identify with us. And I don't blame them. But the thing is that we have watered things. I mean, we've been able to accept a lot of things that couldn't be accepted in cultures. And I think Christianity does have the capacity to take on those attributes if it's needed. It's just that the conservatism of Christianity is much deeper, and it is able to be fairly flexible, but not to accept all religion. It does tend to be kind of, but the thing is that point out that Jesus was really against the Pharisees, and Pharisees are self-righteous, and what they were is they're basically people that put loads on other people's backs, expected other people to live up to the law. defined by Moses, the Ten Commandments and all this. But on the back end, we're being hedonistic. So I would say outright, I'm hedonistic. I'm not saying that I'm telling people to cut back on porn, because I can't even do it myself. And there are things in the Bible where Jesus says, "Surely, sir, I say to you, if you are to accept all this perversity, there's no room for you in heaven." Probably isn't any room for me in heaven, but I'm still going to try to push that I believe this stuff is true. There is truth in it, even though I can't really be perfect. There's hope there. There's a hope, I believe. I believe it to be true, and it's just what I'm selling. It's just what I'm peddling, and I'm not doing it for money. To some degree, what I'm really doing is I'm trying to point out to the Christians that stuff that they're peddling. I'm not really talking to the world, and I'm not saying you become a Christian or else you're going to hell or anything like that. What I'm saying is the Christians that are peddling this stuff need to realize that it tries to develop a certain behavior that I don't see in America anymore. That isn't there. And if America was great, it was probably because we had a morality that we're losing. And we're losing it to evolutionism, the idea that we're kind of accident. We're an accident. I don't think we're an accident. I think that we're formed. I think everything that I am right now, what I am, is the result of me going through so much different kinds of shit. And that is what you are. And you are like a special tool in trying to fix the problem. But you're not, but nobody ever is going to fix this world. And the reason why is because there's so many people with differences. It just never will. There's no utopian society where everybody sees eye to eye. It's not going to happen. But don't go and create truth out of thin air, because it's going to be even more so a hell later on when people don't see eye to eye, because they developed such diverse, or such, I shouldn't say diverse, they developed such distanced, there's such a chasm of truth between them, such that they see each other as liars, that they're going to end up in wars as a result. And at least with Christianity, there's something everybody can agree on. There's ideas everybody can agree on, and the truth is fairly consistent. Even though it makes you feel bad, don't feel bad. That's not the purpose of Christianity, is to make you feel bad. And the purpose of Christianity is trying to develop a identity that other people, there are people in the world that we all feel the same way about things, and some don't at all, but we have a desire to kind of include, to accept and so this is really funky coming from a guy that treats you so badly in the game and laughs at you. I'm doing that to some degree just to get you to watch. And so you'll get disgusted. You might get disgusted, but I'm hitting you blindsided with things that you probably wouldn't get any other way. And that's the idea. Probably the idea of what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing it. I get super chatty, especially after I've fapped for a long time. I don't think the Holy Spirit wants me to say that I fap, but I have to. I have to, because it is a problem I have. And it's a problem that I'm willing to risk all of the downsides to this, to say that maybe somewhere in that is something valuable, some way we can turn this coal into into a diamond. So all this worthless coal into a diamond. We might be through a little bit of pressure and time, but it's not going to happen overnight. So anyhow, and I'm not trying to ignore you with your comments and stuff. I know that on the internet everybody has a tendency to instantly interact. This is the interaction you desire. You're going to get it in VR. So get a VR, get a Quest 2, get an AltSpace VR, meet up with people in AltSpace. That is probably the closest we'll ever come in the world to having true apologetics. And that is seeing eye to eye with people. And the thing about AltSpace VR is the people that come in there try to use the same manipulative techniques they use in the world to try to create, create these fraternities and stuff, and they can't do it. Because in AltSpace VR, you'd have no muscle. People would shut you up at any time. They can block you. So it forces you to see eye to eye with people. It forces you, and there are people who will talk to you and listen to your point of view, even if it is completely orthogonal to what they've believed. And I think it's a very valuable thing for us to all get VR headsets. I don't think it's a valuable thing for us to buy into artificial intelligence. Because to me, artificial intelligence is cloning, it's cloning the neuron. Okay, that was my mom just telling me shut up, because I just woke everybody up. So I'm probably going to get off this game. I don't know what time it is. So what? Yeah, 1:49. So I'll just cut it off. Maybe come back later. Fap off. Come back later. Yeah. She doesn't like that because she's super conservative. Not really super conservative. She's just conservative. Christian. And my stepfather was a minister for 30 years. Became a business person. Trump supporter. Anytime I talk about Trump in our household, she's like, it's negativity. You don't want to hear it. We're at the end of our lives. We're done with. We can't have any control of the world. You saying this stuff is not going to help us at all. So just shut up. But in Planetside, you guys are like either my age or younger. I'm bringing something to the table, even if it's not something you want to hear. But, it's not that I'm creating truth out. I'm not lying to you. I'm not. If I am lying, it's because I don't have the truth. But, hopefully it'll relieve some of the stress, and it'll help you find a way through all of this crap that we're going through right now, rather than just the echo chamber. I'm trying to get people out of the echo chamber, and my website is a step toward that, and I get about 2,000 unique views a month. Most of them are from India. I don't know if they're bots or people. I do have Indian music on my site, like 400 Indian music videos, because I really desire to have a good relationship with the Indians. But the thing is that they're not into the porn. They're getting there. I don't see that as a good thing, really, but I see it as maybe a step towards maybe identifying with people that are not like themselves. So maybe by getting into the dirt, we are able to come out of it cleanly, but we have to kind of play in the dirt for a little while before we get to the clean aspects. So anyhow, yes, okay, you got it. I'm out of it. Okay. Terrible.